This is the My Inner Therapist podcast, and I'm your host, Nikole Seals. Join me in growing a community where we can privately share our stories and collaborate on ways to restore respect and value to the work we do. We can stay connected when you subscribe to the podcast on your favorite podcast app, or you can subscribe to my YouTube channel and watch the video versions of the show. Be sure to visit myinnertherapist.com to learn more about my private consultations, audio programs, and courses, along with all of the free advice and tips that I dish out at my Learning Hub. That's where I let it all hang out, and I encourage you to join me by sharing your comments on posts and videos. You can also connect with me on my LinkedIn page and my Facebook page at My Inner Therapist. Now, if that feels like you're doing too much, simply click on the link in the show's description or visit myinnertherapist.com and sign up for my newsletter. It'll arrive once, maybe twice a month, with goodies like discount codes, invitation to live Q&As, and links to everything I just mentioned. All right, it's enough with the intro. Let the session begin. Welcome all. I appreciate you being here. I want to welcome you to season 2. And yes, it took me a minute to get back. Had a lot going on in the past 6 months. And some of the experiences that I've had have really kind of shaped what this season is going to look like. I feel like I've tapped into this area of need that is really driving me to want to get information out there. And that is really the whole purpose behind this season 2. So I want to just jump right in and let's get started, because we are going to be talking about being your own change agent. And I want to get into, a little bit later on, I'm going to get into what that actually means, being your own change agent. But if you've been listening to the show, if you listened in last season, you'll remember that one of the things that I spend most of the time talking about is really about mindset and how our mindset affects our personal lives, our professional lives. And when we talk about mindset, I really, it's kind of an umbrella term to include our thinking, our belief systems, our perceptions, and the stories that we tell ourselves. And the goal here with this show is for us to really have conversations about how our thoughts and beliefs and perceptions and stories are impacting our lives, how they are impacting our circumstances. And we have to start taking time to recognize the patterns. And that could be patterns with our thoughts. It could be patterns with beliefs and how we adopt them or how we hold on to them. It could also be patterns in how we see the world and how we see ourselves. It could also be patterns in the stories that we tell ourselves. And what we want to do is we want to start practicing on identifying those patterns, especially if they're creating some kind of limitation in our lives. And that's the whole goal of our work when we talk about mindset. So we really want to focus on how our mindset has the power to either create experiences for us, to create certain circumstances in our lives. And as a result, we end up taking action. And that action is usually in the form of growth, right? If we decide to go and work out, we decided that we're going to change our belief system about not needing to work out, that I'm fine. I'm not on any kind of medication, so I must be healthy. But if we decide to change that to belief, I want to be proactive. I want to go out and do something that feels good, that I know is good for my body. So we change that belief system and then we take action. We take action based off of those new beliefs that we have. And that's growth. That's how we evolve to become that kind of idealized version of ourselves in our head. And what often ends up happening is we instead allow our mindset to create limitations for us, right? It it puts limitations in place, and it could be just out of fear of trying, uncertainty, not knowing, but we create these limitations, and then that allows us to justify inaction, not doing anything, telling ourselves that we can't go back to school, or we shouldn't try to apply for a certain career, or we get in a relationship and we become so afraid that it's going to fail. And as a result, we become either inactive, we don't pursue things, we don't take risks, and so we really kind of handicap ourselves. We really place barriers in the way of our own growth. And what we're trying to do here on this show, what we want to talk about is how we can become more self-aware and really start to understand the patterns of how we think, and to make sure that that's an ongoing process. That work never ends. And the goal really is to get to a place where that just becomes a routine part of our lives, that we are constantly evaluating and assessing and really doing some introspection on where we want to be, what is that idealized version of ourselves, what needs to take place in order for us to feel like we're actually moving in a direction towards that. So we're going to be talking about that on the show and how we can make an impact in our personal lives when it comes to our mindset. But this season, I really wanted to focus on a special area, and that's in our professional lives. And I really want to specifically focus on those professionals who are helping professionals, those who are either in the field of doing social work, nursing, teaching, human services, in the field of criminal justice, maybe you work in public health. But if you're in a profession where you are considered a helping professional, your job is to go out, whether it's into the community, if you're doing it individually, one-on-one, your job is to really be a change agent, right? It's to facilitate growth and transformation and change in others. And again, you could be doing that at the micro level, you could be doing that at the meso level, whether it's in your community, or maybe you're doing it on a larger macro level. The unique qualities about the helping professionals, which I'm drawn to because my background as a social worker is I've always been in a helping profession from the moment I started working as a teenager. So I feel like I'm very qualified in being able to talk about the experience, the unique experience of being a helping professional, because I think that it does have some very unique characteristics that really do impact the lives that we live. And so I want to have a conversation about this because I recognize I've been developing a course for a university here, and going to be teaching the course. And in doing research, I was just astounded at the information that I was finding in regards to, especially I think for those professionals in the field of social work, the challenges of the work. I'm fully aware of the challenges of the work. What I wasn't so aware of is how dissatisfied and, I think how almost kind of marginalized social workers feel in their jobs, and how they don't feel value, and how they really are doubting and questioning their choice to become a social worker, which is heartbreaking for me because I feel very fortunate that I've had some wonderful work experience and opportunities, but at the same time, very relatable to me because I totally get it. I've been there. I've really struggled to the point that I made a decision to transition out of direct services in the form of doing social work. So I do have a wide breadth of experience that I want to share with you so that I can maybe help you in the midst of your journey about deciding what you want to do with your career, how you see, if you even see yourself in a helping profession of any kind when it comes to the future, what that looks like, because the future of work is changing. We are no longer in this traditional 9 to 5 work at the same job for 30 years that's gone. That is a thing of the past. And now we're in this gig economy. We have all these changing work models, and no one's talking about what that looks like for people in the helping professionals, what that looks like for social workers. But we're going to talk about it here on this show. And we're going to really pay some special attention to the challenging aspects of the work when it comes to things like workload and the stress and the things that are all characteristic to being a helping professional. I could especially say this for social work, is that you do find yourself in a workplace, or I should say a marketplace, where as a social worker, if you find yourself having limitations in regards to, or what you believe to be limitations in regards to your education, or whether you're licensed or unlicensed, if you are monolingual or bilingual, all of these really have a major impact on how you perceive your marketability, right? How you perceive your place in the market, what you can do, what kind of work you can do, and what kind of wage you can earn. And often I'm discovering people are just settling for wages and salaries that are really below the value that we as helping professionals and social workers bring to the table. So I want to have a discussion about that, because I think I think it needs to change. Maybe you agree with me or disagree. I want to hear from you either way. But I really want us to be able to move ourselves forward, whether it is as a professional in the field, or if it's in a professional that we're taking our transferable skills and we're taking them into a different market. Maybe maybe you're in a place where you're ready to transition. You're kind of at the end of your career, you're mid-career, and you're ready to transition. I want to talk about what that looks like. Having been able to successfully do it, I want to share my journey and my struggles and everything that I learned, because it was a most difficult thing I probably ever done, was trying to transition into self-employment. But I want to talk about that because those are really the things that no one seems to talk about. I think especially when it comes to helping professionals. And that leads me into the other aspect that's really common with this field, is that we become very conditioned. As a helping professional, you become conditioned to believe that this is, there's almost this charity mindset that we take on, that this is for the greater good. We need to be self-sacrificing, that we need to give of our time freely, that there may be some times where we're going to be underpaid and we need to accept that's okay, that there are certain things that happen in the workplace that we just have to tolerate, that we have to do things that may feel unethical because we were told to do so by our superior. You might have noted a little bit of personal residue on that one. I have a lot of experiences when it comes to doing things that go against your values, things that you personally value, and you work for an organization that does not share your values, and what that's like, because that creates a lot of discourse and tension and stress in the workplace. So we're going to be talking about the conditioning that happens when you're in this line of work, and how that is where we get our limitations from. That's where we feel stuck and we don't know how to move from this type of work into something that might be more meaningful and beneficial for us. So one of the other things I realized in my research is just the impact that it's having on us as helping professionals, is that I have coworkers, I have colleagues, and I know that there are times where I've been in a work environment and it's just been miserable, and you come together and you have the misery love company, and we all kind of get together and complain. But I feel like the dissatisfaction and stress in this field, and I think the field of mental health, but I think this also is applicable to healthcare, to teaching, to any kind of social service, any type of human service work, criminal justice. I think there's just this sense that it's not what we anticipate it when we come out of school, right? It looks nothing like it, because they don't talk to you about the bureaucracy in the workplace, and they don't talk to you about how to manage the unmanageable. We also don't talk about what it's like to work in a toxic work environment, how you how you cope with and unfortunately have to adapt to really high stress, a lot of emotional tension when it comes to whether it's the clients that you work with or the work environment that you're in, what that does to our sense of self, our sense of self-worth, the burnout that results from it, physically what that does to our body, how it affects our health, how you'll often find people who've done this for years, who've been doing this they're just trying to get to retirement, and right before they, 5 years before they retire, they start to experience all these problems with chronic illness, and they're just on leave and they're in and out of the hospital. That's the norm. That's not unique. That's not rare. That's the norm. That's what ends up happening to us if we stay in this field for long periods of time and subjecting ourselves to this high level of stress. And we just we get stuck in survival mode, and we just feel stuck. And I think that this is really challenging and frustrating for those of you who are just coming out of grad school or college, and maybe you just are going through the licensing process, or you've just got licensed and you've made this investment of time and money, and you get into work and it's not at all what you expected it to be, and you feel that you are not at all equipped to manage it. I hear this from my students. I know that this is something that in the course that I am teaching regarding management in human services, managers, even those who are at a management level in the field, also feel ill-equipped and don't feel like they're prepared for the work that they're expected to do. And a lot of that is as a result of lack of training. So we're going to talk about all of that on this season, along with the mindset that we develop as a result of being conditioned by our work, and then how we go about changing that. And I feel like I am uniquely qualified to be able to have these discussions with you because I have walked in your shoes. I have been there. I have been in this field, like I said, for a very long time. I've made my career out of being a helping professional and serving others. And there have been moments where I've questioned if it was in my best interest, if I should have tried to transition out or do something different sooner. If you look back and I think, God, the information I had now, if I knew it back then, what would my life be like? What kind of work could I have done if I know what I know now? So I want to save you the heartache and time of having to go through that. And if I can give you some information based on what I know now to help you, that's what I'm going to do. Because this is twofold. I really want to be able to restore the value of what it means to be a helping professional and what it means to be a social worker, whatever title you hold. I really want to restore the value of that because I believe that is at the core of all of our communities. I believe that it is so undervalued and taken for granted and seen as being a burden to the community, and people don't recognize and realize that it touches everybody's life. Everybody's lives touched by some form of a social service or helping professional at some point in their lives. So I want to restore the value, but I also want to restore your value. I want to help you restore your value because for me, I came out of social work not knowing my value. I came out of social work not understanding what I brought to the table, not understanding the value that I brought into other people's lives, not understanding the value that I brought to other organizations, not knowing how to take my value and have it work for me and empower me so that I can go and be of service and empower others. Because so often we're doing it the other way around. And that's where I want to come back to the being your own change agent. Being a change agent really means that we are facilitating the growth and development and transformation of others, whether, like I said, it's individually or if we're doing it at a group level or if we're doing it at a community level, if we're doing it more at on a universal or global level. Being a change agent is something that is expected of us when we're in our professional role. And what ends up happening is that we often get so caught up in facilitating that change for others that we ignore our own need for growth, education, self-care. We become so self-sacrificing that we end up neglecting ourselves. So I am determined to change that. I recognize that I became so much better at helping people when I learned how to help myself first. When I recognized that I had more options and possibilities than I could have imagined. When I also accepted too that I don't have to have this tunnel vision idea of what it means to be a social worker. And I know in grad school, we are very led down these, lanes, and we feel like we have to stay in our lane. And I'm telling you right now, you don't, especially if you want to be able to sustain work employment in the future to come, as we are, like I said, because work is changing, the model of work is changing. If you want to be able to work 10, 15 years from now, you are going to have to step out of your lane, and you're going to have to start learning new stuff and exposing yourself to other skills and experiences and grow. You're just going to have to grow. And we're going to talk about ways that you can do that on the show. So season number 2, we're going to be focused on mindset, but we're also going to be focused on what they didn't teach us in school, what it means to adapt to future changes, what it means in regards to aligning your values and your interests, and also I think too your passions, aligning that with the work that you do so that you find meaning. But also too, if you are interested in pursuing your dream, how you can take your experiences and your skills and use that to pursue your dream, whether it's writing a book, or maybe you want a little side business, maybe you want to teach, you can do that. And unfortunately, it's just not information that you're going to learn in grad school. You have to seek that out in other ways. And I'm going to give you the roadmap to do that, because I had to put that roadmap together myself. I did not necessarily have a podcast that I could sit and listen to help guide me through that process, or I could not find some career counseling specifically for social work to help me do that, which is why I'm offering that to people, because we need that kind of advocacy, and we need that kind of support from people who know, right? From you want to hear that from someone who has walked in your shoes. So I am offering that to you. We're going to have people who have been able to make transitions out of a helping professional or out of a helping profession into something that they love doing. Not to say that you don't love your job, but to something where they were valued and where they felt like they were really making a contribution. Also talking about how you can do your job and feel better about it, set healthier boundaries, and still also find ways to fulfill yourself and find joy and balance in your life. So we're going to be doing that all. It's going to be a nice long season because we got a lot to talk about. But I do want to just emphasize that this must be about giving yourself permission to focus on self, to take care of yourself, to recognize your needs, to give yourself an opportunity for growth, and to embrace change. So if you are down for all of that and you're open to it, then you need to meet me back here every week. I'm going to try to stick to a very consistent schedule and do these, release these every Tuesday. So I'm hoping episodes come out every Tuesday. And you could also catch video versions of some of these episodes, not all of them, but some of them will have video versions over on my YouTube channel at My Inner Therapist. And as always, go to myinnertherapist.com where you can just find everything. That's I call it the hub. That's where everything's at. So go over there, sign up for the newsletter. That way you get links in the newsletter to everything that's going on, whether new videos come out, if I'm doing discounts on my courses, when new courses are being released, when my new management class is coming out, it's all there. So be sure to go to myinnertherapist.com And that's the best way really for us to stay connected and you to stay in the know. Okay, so we are becoming our own change agents. We're not going to rely on other people to make that happen for us. We are going to really reclaim our worth, and we are going to reinvent our career and our lives so that they align with what we truly want. And so I hope you will take that journey with me. All right, that's a wrap for today's show. Help our community to grow by rating the show in your app and share it on your social media. Or you can just tell people about it in the break room at work tomorrow. Thank you for sharing this time with me. And remember, you can let your education limit you or liberate you. Choose wisely. Until next time, friends.